All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy V Moss.
Oh my God, Vaughn, we're back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It was starting to look like we were secretly beefing. So I'm glad we can show the people that we're okay.
Nah, man, we don't do that over here.
We don't beef. We
It's
don't beef.
yeah, man. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to. But yes,
Everybody who listens to this knows what I meant by that comment, and we can move on.
yes. Those if you know, you know. Shout out to the GOAT. Yeah. So, we'll call this season five, the first episode of season five. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on with us individually and collectively, and all that good stuff. So, I promise that this is not the end. That like we're not quitting, we're not quiet quitting on you guys. Like, there's just a lot going on, and there's also like some promising, cool things related to the podcast that might be happening that we can't talk about that we are also kind of keeping in mind as we figure out the plan for future episodes. But we did talk at the end of last year. We knew this was going to be a crazy year, but we decided, like, if nothing else, we were going to get together to talk about this particular album on the 10-year anniversary. So today we are chatting about Bush from the one and only Snoop, D-O-double-G, Uncle Snoop, Calvin Broadus, released 10 years ago tomorrow. And so let's get into it. I mean, it's Snoop's 13th studio album, which is crazy that I mean, we're also coming off the heels right now of the other album that just came out with Dre, which was like their comeback reunion album. So like he's still making music, still putting out
Yeah.
stuff that are like actually relevant to people. But this was a big deal because it was coming back to Snoop Dogg as like he was coming off his Snoop Lion era.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which is one of the many phases of Snoop, man. Like East
He's a
Side, so many different
chameleon.
versions, so many different versions.
We joke a lot about like Snoop is just doing side quests. He's
Always.
doing something new, reinventing himself, but like I do have a lot of respect for his ability to still like make music and music that I want to listen to, right? Like there have been very few iterations. There have been a couple of Snoop that like I wasn't really into the music, but I appreciate like him always trying something. And I will say I was super into this album. Um, so like it was fun to hear him come back to rap, and I still felt like this was different for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. This is still even though we're talking about technically coming back, I mean coming back to the name Snoop Dogg, it's just still not a
Mm-hmm.
traditional Snoop Dogg rap album. And so we'll get into a little bit of that too. Like the other part of it about this album is like a cool 10 tracks was just enough. All it needed to be. It was cohesive because P produced all of it with some help from Chad and some other people. But I think that also brings up, a good question about people's thoughts about the idea. And I feel like it's more, maybe it's just because of, like we always say, the technology and the way the music industry goes. I feel like it's more prevalent now to hear about people locking in with one producer for a whole
Yeah.
project because it's easy. It's easy to do. It's easier to do it and then do that with multiple people. So I think there's pros and cons to it. I think on the
Yeah.
album it worked, and I think there are other albums that I've heard where it like gets to be boring, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm a big fan of one producer albums. I think I've talked about it on this podcast before. Like I love an album listen and I love something that feels cohesive. And like you said, I think it's a really easy way to make something that feels cohesive. And kind of like explore like top to bottom with one person. I do see the idea of like it could get boring or like you don't have enough as much room to explore. But I think at this particular point in Snoop's career, he had nothing to prove to us anymore.
Right.
So he could kind of like just sequester in a corner with Pharrell and be like, okay, so what can we do together? And I think they picked a sound that is so like it's very funk, it's very 70s, 80s. So like there was enough meat there for them to explore. And I think when you work that way, then you have a really successful one producer album. Like I'm a big fan.
Right. And I think that speaks to, the we talk about this all the time on the podcast about how Pharrell can genre jump depending on
Mhm.
what he's in and what kind of sound he wants to play with. But then, like on top of that, when you're being Pharrell and Chad and doing 70s, 80s funk, you can explore the different versions of that itself and then put
Yep,
your own spin on it when you do that and do it with Snoop, and then you don't get a boring, you have less likely for the opportunity for it to become a thing where like, oh, all these songs sound the same and this is just kind of monotonous thing. So I
exactly.
think that's why it works. I think that's why people like it. We talked about the 70s, 80s funk. Our guy, the one and only Uncle Charlie, is all over this album, which super helpful and super like connected to the theme. And I think an interview I saw, Snoop said that like George Clinton called him the futuristic Bow Wow, and that's like a perfect characteristic of this thing. It's like if Pharrell and Chad made like a Rick James Parliament inspired album for Snoop Dogg, and that's what we got. So,
Yeah, yeah,
all right, we're gonna hit song by song. First song, California Roll. We talked about this a couple times on the show.
we have. I was
Um,
having deja vu. I was like, didn't I say this already?
yeah, like I think the first of all, I think in an interview I saw Pharrell say that it's a soul sushi roll, which I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Like the layers of
Yeah,
Pharrell, the layers of Stevie singing, the layers of Stevie harmonica, the Snoop, like it definitely is a mixture of a lot of different things that you might necessarily think go together, but
yeah,
work out really well.
yeah,
But obviously, the thing that everyone talks about with this song is the story that Pharrell tells about him getting too high to produce Stevie because of catching a contact from Snoop doing what Snoop does. That's just part of the lore, right? Part of the lore of Snoop and part of the lore of relationship with these two guys for sure.
can I admit to you that I've never heard that before?
What?
I don't ever remember hearing that story.
I feel like he's told it a couple different, like I feel like it was on this interview that was specifically about Bush, but then I feel like I've seen it in a couple places, but yeah.
That's hilarious.
He said he couldn't really like he was just slumped and couldn't he said he said he was pressing the keyboards and he felt like the keyboards weren't working. He so he said Snoop just said, "Hey, just sing it and then Pharrell will take the parts that he wants later." Like, yeah. Everyone go YouTube, just type in, I guess type in Pharrell high Stevie Wonder
Yeah,
like that.
I'm gonna be googling it after this.
All right. Next song, This City. This City, I think that was cool. I think Snoop talked about that. That's kind of like just his as kind of a song about California and the
Mhm.
vibes that he thinks of and being back and kind of trying to share that with the world. So dope song, fits the
Yeah.
theme. Any thoughts about this city?
I think on this song and re-listening to it, I think it dawned on me how much I know we talked about like the 70s, 80s funk, but there's also a lot of like retro synth on this album. And I
Hmm.
thought there was a good use of it on this song. And I am not a synth girly. Actually, this is a reason why I have a big problem. I don't want to say problem, but like I'm not a fan of the Weeknd's current musical sound, even though I was a really big fan because it's a lot of sense. It's not bad music. I just like I'm not a synth girly. But listening to it here, I was like, oh, this is done really well. So like I think I re-listened to this and I was like, I forgot how much I liked this song.
Hmm. Yep. Next one is Are You a Freak? I don't really it's not that I don't like it. I just don't this one doesn't it doesn't stick out in my brain as much. What
Oh
am I missing? Is it just kind of
no, I love this song.
okay?
I love this song. It's actually, and I probably said this before, when this album came out, like I had this on repeat. This was like before people were streaming like that. And I just like listened to this album all the time. And this was definitely, I think like the first half of the album for me was where I spent a lot of my time. And this is one of the tracks I did spend a lot of time with.
Hold on, let me listen to it real quick just to be fresh my memory. Okay, okay, okay.
Not
Oh yeah, that's she's DTF because she's down the field.
a
Yo,
feel. I
actually,
love this song.
oh, okay, my bad, my bad. I don't know. I missed. I don't know. I don't know. I was sleeping on that one. Okay,
It's like a
another.
little roller coaster ride.
There's no bad songs on this album,
There's
like
no bad songs.
none. But when you said that, you said you like leaned more towards the first half. I think I leaned towards the second half because it's more rappy. But we'll get.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, next song. We're gonna talk a little bit about this one because oh no, Awake is the next one. So Snoop said he wrote this with Pharrell in an interview with Pigeon and Plains. He said, "I think we're trying to awake the world and wake everybody up to what's good for you." Snoop said, "You know, it may be weed, it may be just open-mindedness and being aware of the fact that you should wake up. Some of us walk around sleep and don't even know it. So it's really speaking to many minds of those who need to have an awakening. Pharrell, when he gives me songs, we spiritually connect. Sometimes I don't even know what the fuck this song means when you were doing it. It takes a minute for the song to live with you and to grow. In the spirit of making music, sometimes we don't understand it until it speaks to you. Then it's like, okay, that's why I did it. I mean,
So I'm gonna say that was a much deeper take on this song than I ever experienced. But I think that that is classic Pharrell, right? Like he writes in this way that like has a lot of hidden meaning or a lot of like you have to think about it. Um and as I'm hearing you like kind of quote that back, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I get that.
yep,
I mostly was just like, woo, it's like a fun, like dancey song, but like I totally get the meaning when you look at it from more of a different lens.
right. And I think that like I said, I keep referencing this interview where it's just two of them specifically like talking about this album and just like the energy transfer that you it almost feels like Pharrell has another contact high, right? Like he's kind of like he's talking, they're having a conversation that feels like they don't even remember there's a camera like there, but they're like,
Yeah,
but that description of what awake means like also is very connected to, I think, the similar vibe of like what Snoop said the meaning of the album came from Pharrell. He said Pharrell created that. He created it for many reasons, for the reasons of and referring to the word Bush as the title, for the
mhm.
reasons of marijuana, for a woman's private area, for a Bush afro, for bushes outside. It's just so many different meanings that when he said it, it wasn't even a debate. When I was
Yeah.
in the studio, I was smoking. He wasn't smoking, but that secondhand smoke was wearing his ass out. But yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like you get a song like that and they describe it like that, but then you also think about all the reasons why. Like you think about why is it called Bush? But then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
told you all the different meanings of Bush, and now it's like, okay, guys, I get it.
I think that like hearing them talk about this song in particular reminds me of the question you asked like at the top of this. It's like when you have two people working together so closely, they almost create their own language and world.
Hmm.
And so I think that's probably what you're picking up when you see them interact. And I like that that has the ability to bloom and blossom when you're just working with one person on
Hmm.
a project.
Hmm.
Um, so it's dope to kind of like hear about it and see it.
Hmm. Okay, next song is So Many Pros. So the fun fact about this song is that there was an original version that Pharrell made with Timbaland for a Timbaland album. The song was
Mm,
called Been It. But for some reason, whatever album that was supposed to be on got canceled. So I think that they said Snoop and Pharrell said that was the first song they worked on because he already had it, and then kind of like sparked everything else from there. But Pharrell said Snoop says that Pharrell convinced him to change the lyrics in the song title from "So Many Hoes" to "So Many Pros" because obviously pros is more acceptable to the masses
yeah.
than hoes, which I think makes a lot of sense. But
Marketing genius.
again, also thinking about P, thinking about shit like that, he said to him, you know, it could be played on ESPN because pros, like pro athletes and a lot of pro athletes
Yeah.
with Snoop. And, you I think Snoop had been featured on ESPN before, but like, you know, 2 years ago, Snoop was, or maybe last season, Snoop was doing the Monday Night Football intro song with Chris Stapleton. And like
Yeah, yeah,
Pharrell had a bunch of songs that were on ESPN this year when Piece by Piece was out. Like Piece by Piece was on commercials, and I think for NBA, like they had Grindin' and Rockstar and like so. Again, like seeing, we always give credit to Pharrell for the business side of it
yeah,
coming out in ways that make sense.
yeah. The forward thinking.
Having that conversation and thinking about that and the opportunities that you can have with pros instead of hoes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really smart to make that kind of decision, not just from a like, oh, this is going to be a nicer thing, but like, look at how much more we could do with it if we just change that one little thing.
Yep, and that's also a point for this album. There's not a lot of cursing in the album in general. Like
Yeah, yeah,
other than probably some of the verses from probably the verses from Kendrick and Ross at the end, maybe.
yeah, yeah,
Other than that, it's a pretty clean album, which I think
yeah.
also, whether done intentionally or not, makes a lot of sense and for it to be accepted by the masses because it just feels good.
I think that sometimes Pharrell gets like a weird amount of flack for being like such a clean artist in the way that he is. Like, not a lot of cursing, not a lot of like showing up in these ways that can be like less accepted. And I think that can be seen as like, oh, he's just like putting on. But I think that like it's really thoughtful to show up in that way. And like it makes him more viable to a lot of people, a lot of audiences, as opposed to like pigeonholing yourself in that way. And I think that like thinking about where Snoop started in his career and what his like what people looked at him as,
Right.
being able to be in a space where he was more acceptable and was like able to be listened to by a lot of people is really exciting for him. And I think again, really smart, really well done.
Yep. All right. Um, Next song is Peaches and Cream, which was the first single. I mean, Uncle Charlie shines as
Yeah,
usual. This
yeah,
this could be Peaches and Cream could be like a Gap Band song, just to be honest, like
yeah, yeah.
which is dope. Nelly has uncredited, I think he has writing credits on it, but I think he does have some background vocals on there too, which I think is cool. I've mentioned before in the show, this is a song that's featured in the Entourage movie, has a cool moment where
Mm.
they're like at Vince's house having a party, which is dope. But yeah, Uncle Charlie, we talked about that on the show too. Like Uncle Charlie's relationship with Snoop is crazy. Like Snoop just talked about how, he met Uncle Charlie when he was in a down, Uncle Charlie was in a down place and helped, bring him back. And then Uncle Charlie returned the favor and helped him get through some marriage issues that Snoop was dealing with. So really dope to see like that's, not just a musical thing. Like it's actually like
Yeah,
real
a real relationship.
uncle nephew type of thing, which is dope.
Yeah, yeah, that is really cool. Um, yeah, I think it's funny for this song to be next after I was like, it's so acceptable. And we start talking about peaches and cream, but like I love this song. It's really fun.
All right. The next one is Edibles, which obviously is referring to Snoop's love of marijuana. This has another one of the few rap features that features T.I., um, which makes a lot of sense because I think Snoop said in an interview that T.I. recorded, Pharrell was working on T.I.'s album in the studio next door,
Okay.
which would be the Paperwork album, which we talked about in the show before, that P executive produced, has I think 3 or 4 Pharrell songs on the Paperwork album. So dope that Ti could just walk down the hallway and come get on this record, which is really dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Ti does what Ti does. I think it's a good song.
I as I was listening to this, I was like, there aren't a like ton of features, but it's a bunch of people that like are kind of like the best of people
Mhm.
who work with the Neptunes. And so that was really exciting to see. And I think they were all like placed perfectly. So I like this song. I like the feature. Like you said, the features come a little more towards the end of the album.
Yep.
And it is nice to see them show up in this way.
Yep. Yep. I mean, when you say the best of, like I think like the only people that would probably be missing is like if we could have got I mean, Hove is Hove, but like maybe,
Yeah.
but maybe like
He has no place on this album.
maybe like Busta Rhymes, or maybe like or maybe like or maybe like Nori. Maybe Nori. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's,
I think that those are the three people who are on the best of list that I don't feel their sound here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I'd love to see them try.
Definitely is a different bot where I felt
Yeah.
like because I think even saying that though, and we're jumping ahead because we're gonna talk about I'm Your Dog, but like I think Ti definitely altered his flow to fit into this funky beat. But then when
Mm,
we talk about I'm Your Dog at the end, like that's not really like that's probably the least funk inspired beat slowed down, which gave Kendrick and Rick Ross time to like really do their rap shit. So
yeah. Yeah.
okay. Um so after Edibles is I Knew That. Like all of the songs, like there's really nothing like bad to say about them.
Yeah.
They're just really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have anything like super insightful to say, but it's just I knew
Yeah.
that. It's just funky. It's just
Good
funky.
song.
It's funky. Okay. And then next one is Runaway, which features Gwen Stefani, who I don't know. Do we have beef with Gwen Stefani now? Like, did she? That's what I heard. I heard some rumors that she was. I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but I'm just asking, just for
We'll
context.
talk offline. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say, but we'll talk offline.
Man, Gwen
We don't
Stefani,
have beef per se.
we used to love you, Gwen. Okay, Gwen Stefani's on there. This song was recorded in Argentina. Shout out to our guy Brent Paschke, who is from Spy Mob. He also has writing credits and plays a little guitar on this album. I mean, on this song, which is great. Snoop just talks about this is about running away from ugly problems in the world and dealing with suffering. So like, still, like a more somber subject matter, but still a funky up tempo
Yeah.
song that fits an
Yeah.
album without, allows him to express that without actually taking away from the energy and the vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I've said a number of times, I listen to this album a lot. These last two songs weren't as fresh on my mind. So I think like towards that, I'm just like, I kind of die off.
Yeah.
So I don't have a strong memory of this song or the last one with Kendrick and Rick Ross.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to I'm Your Dog a lot just because it's on my Kendrick playlist. But
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's a good way to close the album and just like remind people it's a rap album, but also um Rick Ross, I think Rick Ross needs more Neptunes Pharrell collabs. Um, I think this is a reminder that Kendrick has more than people realize, and Kendrick like does what he needs to do on all of them.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe unpopular opinion. Again, to the question you asked at the start, I'm not really aware of Rick Ross's production situation. His music to me is very monotonous. Um, like the beats he tends to choose, and I'm assuming they're coming from like the same person or group or people.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting perspective on Rick Ross. I because it made me think because I don't disagree with you, but I also would say this is part supporting your point, but also part again talking to the way that we can consume music has changed in the past 15 years is
Yeah,
I haven't listened and sat through a whole purposely done it multiple times a whole Rick Ross album since Teflon Don.
hmm,
But like I've listened to songs from all of them since then, and I have like really some of my favorite Rick Ross's songs like have come from albums that have come out since Teflon Don, but I've never like sat with the whole project in that way. And I don't know if it has as much to do with what you're saying about the beats, but it's also just about like, I don't know. Music is it's we I don't want to go on a rant.
Don't
Let's
get us started. Yeah, I'm like, we're about to go in a totally different place. I got a lot to say about. So that's maybe not the place for.
but I also like to that point, I'm skipping around. I know I'll end on a high note, but I just wrote another note down to talk about like because in that same conversation we're talking about I do not I mean, obviously, like I'm super sensitive, may not be the word, but like people criticizing Pharrell for music only, or
Right,
saying
right.
things are not good as they used to be, or like he's got to go get make up with Chad just from a music standpoint. Like we want him to make up with Chad because we want them to be great
Yeah,
because they're human beings, and like if you love somebody, you love somebody. That's
right.
put that aside. But like from a music standpoint, like yeah, it doesn't sound the same when you're expecting it to be beautiful. Like you can't make beautiful again. It's like that's
Mm-hmm.
why another reason why I think that we appreciate this album because we love Beautiful and Drop It Like It's Hot so much, but we love to see that they can get together and do something else that we love. But like I'm taking the expectations away from it. Like I
Yeah,
think that's something that I think that people have an unrealistic like perspective when they're talking about music from any artist that they love or don't love, but any
I
artist
agree.
that's been out for over 10 years or 20 years, like, no, we're not getting I Just Want to Love You Again. We're not
Yeah,
getting songs because it's just not possible.
it can't sound the same.
And if
The
you're comparing
world
it,
is not the same.
yeah, and if you're comparing everything that people do to what they did that their biggest songs ever, like you're always going to be disappointed. You're going to miss out on stuff like Bush because you're waiting to hear Drop It Like It's Hot. And I think
For
that
sure. For
is a
sure.
problem that people who listen to music have, but it's also what makes it frustrating is like not only do people have that problem, but because of the world we live in, they feel like they need to say that. When it's just like if you don't like it, you don't like it. Don't say just keep
Yeah.
it yourself.
Keep it moving. No, that was a really good point. I think it's important to say. That's actually a beef I have with people a lot because it's like they'll be like, "Oh, you sold out," like, "Oh, you changed," and it's like, why wouldn't I have? Why wouldn't I have evolved? Like, just like you're a person, somebody's career is gonna evolve. So,
Right.
like, I'm never really here for criticism in that way of like, "Oh, it's just not. It's just different. If it's not for you anymore, it's not for you."
Right. Right. Like there's a an objectivity that people are missing. Like
Mm-hmm.
if something's bad, it's bad. Like we can say it's bad,
Oh yeah,
but like you can just say like, oh yeah, I don't really like that. Like,
yeah, yeah,
and also like just to be clear, like we aren't super like I'm not super Cape man for Pharrell. Like I haven't loved everything that's come out since whenever, but
yeah,
I also don't expect it to be the stuff from 2002, 2003, but also we're blessed because we can still listen to that shit. Like just go back and listen to Beautiful. Like
yeah.
don't expect, but it's also like, and this is my last point of this. It's also a telling sign, two things. All these new people are making fake 2000s Pharrell and Chad versions of songs, right? Like when what's my man? Don Toliver made that song that remixed Beanie Man Girls and Sugar. Like that was good. And I liked it. I thought it was cool. It wasn't like super original, but it was like I didn't hate it. But there's also people who are making songs that are super inspired by that. But then the second point that I'm making is how many times in the past few years have one of these random Neptunes or Pharrell songs become a viral TikTok trending audio? Like I saw like 8 videos last week of people doing some dance to the Snow in My Eyes song.
Oh, I yeah, they yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like that's not even
yeah,
like something that's like a super like highly touted classic. That's just like one that we missed in the pandemic, and now all of a sudden it's TikTok viral, and people are like, oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, they're looking for. Now I'm getting on my high horse, and I'll stay there for a very brief amount of time. But like, what people are looking for from music is different than I think what it has been, and they're looking for the replicability. They're
hmm
looking for the sense of nostalgia. So that's why people are taking a lot of samples or remaking songs or that kind of thing and reusing sounds that we've already heard. And that doesn't like those are good sounds, but like, why aren't we doing something new?
right.
you're just worried about how many streams you're going to get. You're worried about how many plays you're going to get. You're worried about can they do a dance to it? And
Hmm.
it's like that doesn't make good music
Hmm.
if that's what you're focused on. So like all respect to people who are doing music now, but like I just find that like the heart isn't the same. And I think that even, forgive me for what I'm about to say, I think that even when you get down to the Kendrick Drake beef, it is those two polarizing places in music to be of like I can sell a song versus I can write a song. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right. Baby girl.
And did I say that all this weekend? Absolutely.
I've
Not
never even
proud.
heard that song all the way through, like not one time. I've never.
Me neither. But I know that chorus because the man can write it. The man can. He knows how to sell a song.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we talked like we talked enough about the Drake beef when we had. I mean, maybe we didn't. I don't really like. I think
You know how you do.
our point is that the music is what matters, and
Yeah.
I'm on the side of the music that means something to me more
Yeah.
than. Cause I ain't in the club. I ain't trying to dance. I ain't trying to like find like I'm no, I'm not. I'm like, yo, give me the dictionary music, bro.
The kids aren't in the club either, though. That's the thing. Like that's not even in anymore. It's can I do this to it? Can I do a sway and a step and
Right.
put it on TikTok? Like it's a very different purpose. And I'm not trying to take away the validity of that purpose. It's just not something that resonates with me.
It does not resonate with us. We're old. Not
Yeah,
old is not the right word, but I think that I really am appreciative of the time that we grew up in music to
yeah,
be able to be around people who had us experience and appreciate the like golden eras and then live through a golden era ourselves. Multiple, like
yeah, yeah.
90s and 2000s are like crazy. And then I'd say
Mhm.
even the early 2010s, when we're talking about blog era before it became the streaming thing and streaming just went crazy.
Yeah,
But like, yo, like, come on, man. Like,
yeah. You can't duplicate that.
you can't. Okay, let's wrap this up. Your favorite three songs.
Favorite these songs. Let me look at the track list real quick. Um, California Roll. The
Hmm.
um. Actually, I'm gonna say "Are You a Freak?" And I actually think I'm deciding between so many pros and edibles. I'm gonna go with edibles because I heard it and I got really excited.
Yeah, I like Peaches and Cream a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, like I said, I like I'm Your Dog because of the rapping. And my third one's gotta be probably I Knew That, even though I didn't have much to say about it, but like I
Yeah.
just have that core that dot in my head. Like the videos of them in the studio making this is just like is perfect. It's just like you see Snoop doing this thing. This is when Snoop, I think, really after his lion thing was when he really was like getting the dreads out. So like the dreads and shit. Like it's good vibes. Good
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
All right, kid. Well, it was good to see you. Good to chat.
Too.
All of our listeners, just stay tuned. I mean, that's all I can say. I ain't got more to say than that, but that's all you need.
Take care of yourselves. That's what I can
Yeah,
ask y'all.
take care of yourselves. Listen to some good music. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Understatement.
So yeah, just
Music can get us through it though.
follow the vibes. The music is gonna be the soundtrack of the revolution, whatever that means.
Never in my life did I think I'd hear you say that.
I don't mean like I mean like emotion, like just whatever. Go whatever. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Speaking of moms, I'm a puppy mom. I'm gonna go get my dog.
And I promise you guys, there's no alcohol in this drink. It's just a poppy. I'm just getting my probiotics in my.
Let's talk. Okay, I know we said we're not old, but let's talk about poppies. Get out there and buy some poppies. I was talking about getting a butcher this week. Like, maybe not old, but getting there.
I mean, there's so many decisions that we make that are just like so critical to being able to maintain in this state of aging that we're in. And the number one thing is like not drinking Sprite. I'm drinking Poppy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. What a random rant this was. But yeah.
This isn't an ad. Should we say that?
Hey Poppy, holla at me, cuz. Holla at me, man.
All right.
All right, let's go before. Yeah, okay. All right, bro. Good to see you, kid.
See you next time.
I might be up there soon. We'll
Okay.
chat.
Bet.
All right, talk to you later.
Peace.
I guess I should say my normal thing. This has been another episode of Neptunes Sunday. Catch you next time. Peace and love. I haven't done this in so long. Oh man, bear with us. Oh, it's like riding a bike. It's like riding. All right, see you guys later.